There is something quiet about needing a voice in your ear before sleep arrives. You lie there in the dark, exhausted, yet your mind refuses to truly settle down. So you reach for your phone, open a podcast, and let someone else fill the silence. It feels harmless, almost comforting, like a small ritual you have built without thinking. But psychology suggests this habit reveals something deeper about how your nervous system handles stillness. You are not lazy, broken, or addicted to noise the way people sometimes assume. You are someone whose mind has learned that silence feels louder than any voice ever could. And by the end of this, you will understand exactly why that quietly happens. Most people think they need a podcast because they simply enjoy the content at night. But the real reason hides underneath in the parts of you that rarely get noticed. When the lights go off, your body finally stops performing for the outside world. That is when unprocessed thoughts, small worries, and unfinished feelings start rising to the surface. Your mind, used to constant input all day, suddenly faces an uncomfortable wave of awareness. A podcast becomes the gentle hand that pushes those thoughts back down into the dark. It is not entertainment you are seeking at that moment. It is emotional regulation. You are using another voice to soothe a nervous system that never learned to rest. Psychologists call this auditory self-soothing, a quiet way of borrowing calm from someone else. The voice in your ear acts like a parent, a friend, a steady presence beside you. It tells your body almost secretly that you are not alone in this dark room. And for many people, that hidden message matters more than the actual words being spoken. This is why the topic barely matters once your eyes start to feel genuinely heavy. True crime, comedy, history, philosophy, anything works because the content is not the real point. The real point is the rhythm, the tone, the human warmth filling an empty inner space. Your brain is not chasing information at night. It is chasing safety dressed as sound. Now here's where it gets more revealing about the kind of person you are. People who need a podcast to fall asleep often have very active inner worlds. You think deeply, replay conversations, imagine future scenarios, and quietly analyze almost everything around you. That mental engine does not switch off just because the clock says it is bedtime. So you give it something external to focus on, something easier than your own thoughts. The podcast becomes a softer task for your brain, a gentle distraction from internal noise. In a strange way, you are protecting yourself from yourself without ever calling it that. This habit is also strongly linked to people who carry low-level, everyday background anxiety. Not loud panic, not visible stress, just a constant hum that never fully goes away. During the day, work, conversations, and movement keep that hum mostly hidden from view. But night strips everything away, and suddenly that quiet hum becomes impossible to ignore. A familiar voice in your ear lowers that hum back down to a manageable level. It is not weakness, it is your nervous system asking for the comfort it never received. There is also something deeply human about wanting to feel accompanied as you drift off. Many listeners describe their favorite hosts almost like friends they have never actually met. That is not strange. That is your brain recognizing emotional safety in a familiar voice. Psychology shows that consistent voices can create a real sense of belonging over time. So when you press play at night, you are not just starting a show. You are stepping into a small relationship that feels safe, predictable, and emotionally undemanding. For someone tired of performing all day, that low-pressure connection feels surprisingly healing. You are not avoiding people, you are just choosing connection that does not require you. Now look at this with a little more honesty, because this part matters a lot. Some of you grew up in homes where silence felt heavy, tense, or emotionally unsafe. Quiet did not mean peace. It meant something was wrong, brewing, or about to happen. So your nervous system learned to associate silence with danger, even decades after leaving. As an adult, soft background voices feel like proof that the environment is calm. Your body relaxes because the sound says, "Nothing bad is happening in this room tonight." This is not weakness. This is intelligent adaptation from a younger version of yourself. That younger version is still listening, still scanning, still trying to feel completely safe. A podcast at night is sometimes that younger self being gently held into sleep. Once you see this clearly, the habit stops feeling embarrassing and starts feeling deeply human. You are not strange for needing it. You are someone who finally understands their wiring. But there is another layer worth exploring because patterns rarely come from only one place. People who fall asleep to podcasts are often quiet overthinkers in their daily lives. You replay small moments, wonder how you came across, and notice things others completely miss. You feel things in layers, and that depth follows you straight into your bedroom. A blank ceiling becomes a screen where every unresolved feeling tries to play itself out. So you change the channel, literally, by choosing a voice instead of your thoughts. This is a subtle form of self-protection from a mind that rarely takes breaks. Here is the reframe many of you actually need to hear right now in this moment. You are not addicted to noise. You are someone with a sensitive, thoughtful inner world. You are not avoiding your feelings. You are pacing them so you can keep functioning. You are not weak for needing voices. You are wise for finding something that works. The goal is not to shame the habit, but to understand what it quietly serves. Once understood, you can keep it, soften it, or slowly outgrow it on your terms. There's also a practical shift worth trying that does not demand giving anything up. Try noticing the exact moment you reach for that podcast as you lie in bed. Pause for 10 seconds and ask, what feeling am I trying to gently move away from? Is it loneliness, anxiety, restlessness, sadness, boredom, or just the discomfort of being alone? You do not have to fix the answer. You only have to notice it honestly. That small awareness rewires your relationship with the habit without forcing any harsh change. Over time, you may find that some nights you no longer need the voice. Other nights you will, and that is completely okay because comfort is not failure. The deeper goal is becoming someone who chooses the habit instead of being run by it. There is also something quietly powerful about how this habit reflects your need for control. You cannot always control your thoughts, your stress, or what tomorrow will quietly bring. But you can control the voice in your ear, the volume, the topic, the timing. In a chaotic inner world, that small choice feels like one steady island of calm. Psychology often shows that sleep rituals are really about creating predictability inside uncertainty. The podcast is not random. It is your way of building a tiny, dependable nightly anchor. That anchor matters more on hard days, lonely nights, or when life feels especially loud. You are not escaping reality. You are gently softening its edges so rest becomes possible. Now here is a contrast line worth sitting with for a quiet moment tonight. It is not the silence you fear. It is what silence forces you to feel. Most people will never understand that difference because they have not paid attention like you. But you are starting to see it, and seeing it changes how you treat yourself. You stop calling yourself dependent and start calling yourself self-aware in a real way. That shift is small on the outside, but enormous on the inside, where it counts. Self-awareness is not about fixing every habit you have ever quietly built around comfort. It is about understanding why the habit exists, what it protects, and what it costs. When you understand that, even your smallest routines start to feel meaningful and chosen. Falling asleep to a podcast becomes less of a crutch and more of an informed choice. You are not running from your mind. You are working with it in a kinder way. That is a quiet form of strength most people never bother to develop in themselves. So tonight, when you press play, notice the voice, the rhythm, and your own breathing. Notice how your shoulders soften, how your jaw unclenches, how the room feels less sharp. That is not just a podcast doing its job. That is your nervous system finally exhaling. You deserve that exhale after every silent thing you carried through this long, demanding day. And maybe slowly, you will learn to give yourself that same calm without any sound. Until then, there is no shame in needing a voice to walk you into sleep. You are not broken for needing comfort. You are simply human in a very loud world. The people who understand this about themselves are usually the most emotionally intelligent ones around. They notice their patterns, question them gently, and choose growth without becoming harsh with themselves. If that sounds like you, then this habit is not a flaw, it is a doorway. A doorway into deeper self-understanding, softer self-talk, and a more honest relationship with rest. Walk through it slowly, without judgment, and see what your quiet mind has been protecting. You might find that underneath all the noise, there is a calmer version of you waiting. A version that does not need constant sound, but still appreciates a good voice nearby. That version is not far away, it is just learning how to feel safe in silence. And ever small noticing tonight brings that version a little closer to fully arriving. If this spoke to something quiet inside you, stay close because more insight is coming soon.